Okay, yep, I've seen this. All I gotta do is sit over here, charge this 3 times, charge it again. I gotta wait for him to turn around, and then I'm just gonna go ahead, bonk. God damn it. Hold on, I just gotta get up. Let me get up.
First impressions to the uninitiated are important, especially for a 20-year-old franchise. The first time I ever saw anything related to Monster Hunter was in 2018 when World released, and I saw a video by renowned gaming livestock, Video Game Donkey. Now, I get that it's his job to be funny video man, and his World video is funny, but as a way to introduce someone unfamiliar to what Monster Hunter is, it didn't do that. It looked frustrating and not fun.
Oh my god. Oh.
So I put Monster Hunter out of my mind. That was until this year. During Capcom's Return to World event, my friend Smiv suggested I pick it up and do a playthrough together. And when both World and Iceborne were bundled for like 20 bucks, how could I refuse? 150 hours later, and oh yeah, I feel like I get it. With the release of Wilds approaching, I wanted to serve as that first impression to anyone curious about what Monster Hunter is, give a new player's perspective on the game, and at the end, I'll give my suggestion if the series is right for you. Hello, welcome to Monster Hunter World. In Monster Hunter, you create a hunter and customize them and your palico. Your palico is a cat companion that you can set up in different ways to help you hunt. They can heal, deal damage, buff you. There are a lot of ways you can set them up. You then accept missions and hunt monsters. There is a story that will guide you through different missions, and they will have tutorials baked in as you go. We'll talk about the story later. The gameplay loop is you hunt monsters until you have to fight a monster that is too tough for you, making you go back to fight weaker monsters to harvest their parts, to craft better armor and weapons, to then go fight that tougher monster. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple, stupid. Great advice. Hurts my feelings every time.
This is primarily what you'll be doing. While you are hunting in these expansive zones, you'll be learning how to track, collect materials, and absorb the layout of the areas. You can do all of this solo or with a party up to 4. If you are in a duo, then each hunter can bring along their palico, making it feel more like a full party. What is going to dictate your enjoyment in the hunt more than anything is your weapon. Monster Hunter World has 14 different weapons to choose from. There is something here for just about any playstyle. You can choose to change your weapon at any time, so you don't have to worry about making a permanent decision. You can even swap your weapon mid-hunt by returning to camp if the situation calls for it, but that's not required. And this might be your most important decision, like picking that first starter Pokemon. I look at the weapons as characters in fighting games. They have all their combos at the beginning, but it is up to you to find what enjoyment you get out of them at first, and then through learning the weapon, you will see more of what it can do. And you will. As your skills improve, you will be able to pull off some really cool combos with your weapon of choice. All the weapons feel satisfying and fully realized. Luckily, Monster Hunter gives you a practice range to experiment, so if you aren't having fun with a particular weapon, go ahead and try out the others and see what works for you. Personally, I chose the hammer. I wanted a weapon that was a bit more methodical and deliberate, but also had mobility and was easy to pick up. Hammer checked all those boxes. How I was using the hammer at the beginning and how I'm using the hammer now look drastically different. See, in Monster Hunter, there is no experience points. Instead, it's real improvement to your skill that will be applied to the game. So you can't just out-level a challenge like an RPG. You have to use your skills and resources available to defeat harder challenges. Let's talk about what you'll be hunting: the monsters. One of my favorite pieces of media is Dune by Frank Herbert. Now, people label it as a science fiction, but the author said it was a book on ecology. That approach to world building in every facet is what makes the world of Arrakis feel complete and realized, and immerses you into this world. I see this in Monster Hunter. The attention to detail is unmatched. You can sit in one of the hubs and notice all the intricacies that give this sense of realism to the world. Nothing does this better than the monsters themselves. You can see why a hunter would need a sword to rival the Dragon Slayer to take down one of these behemoths. Oh, how'd you get in here? If you spend enough time watching these monsters, you'll see this level of care that went into them. It's not like they simply came up with a cool design and slapped them in there. No. Where they are and how they interact with these environments makes sense. Seeing how the monsters behave with each other too is just another layer of immersion.
I need to get some sleep. I really need some sleep.
They'll have turf wars where the monsters will fight each other, and you need to pay attention to this and have awareness of your surroundings during a hunt, because this can break out mid-fight. The monsters range from prehistoric T-Rex inspired bipeds to eldritch dragons and a lot in between. They have weaknesses and strengths that you will need to learn and play around in some cases to be a more effective hunter. Really, they are the star of the show and the standout of the game. I love how the armor and weapons take on characteristics of the monsters you craft them from. It's like the hunter becoming the monster. One of my favorite monsters was the Final Fantasy crossover and Behemoth. That was the first monster that halted me and made me look at what he was doing and build my gear and decorations around trying to counter what it was doing. But what a fight. I really hope they do more crossovers like this in Wilds. The monsters are kind of like Dark Souls bosses. If you are familiar with any of those games from Software, then you'll know that the bosses have an attack pattern, and learning those are required for being able to engage in the combat. Here though, you aren't fighting any humanoid monsters. They all behave very differently and have to be understood from that point of view. Tail attacks, stomps, charges, bites, clawing. You have a dodge roll and can run from attacks, and some weapons have more defensive options than others, like a shield or shoulder tackle. But fighting these monsters feels so satisfying. When the fight clicks and you connect with a big attack and send the monster to the ground is one of the biggest dopamine rushes I've had in a game, and it happens again and again and again.
Oh, hell yeah! Let's go!
Oh, hell yeah. I had such a positive experience with Monster Hunter. My feelings to anyone who has never picked up one of the games is to give World a shot. I have some advice to help you not become overwhelmed with what the game is, because while I simply explained it, the game goes into a lot of depth that can get complicated very quickly. This is one of those games that I had a wiki constantly open on my second monitor because I always had questions. World tries really hard to make the learning as easy as possible, but I feel like getting into the game now, I benefited from a lot of the growing pains that have been figured out, and there's a lot of information at your disposal, but there is a steep learning curve, and the game would be really hard to go in completely blind and try to figure all of this out yourself. I was also fortunate to have a friend to play along with and could answer any of my questions and explain things a lot better. But this game has a really active player base. Even today, I'm sure you can go on Reddit or YouTube and be able to find some solid advice from seasoned hunters easily. And I will say that the community of Monster Hunter doesn't seem like a bunch of gatekeepers. They seem welcoming to anyone willing to learn. It's not all sunshine and moogles though. I didn't want to muddy the waters of what I loved about Monster Hunter to focus on the bad. There are some more frustrating things in the game, but they are few and far between, but I'll talk about them here. I didn't like how you couldn't skip cutscenes. The handler was kind of annoying. You can only have a palico and not a dog version, so I couldn't recreate my dog Moose in the game, even though he'd probably be a pretty lazy hunting partner. I am accustomed to the grind for monster parts, having played more hours of Phantasy Star Online than I can count. But if you aren't used to this, then get ready to hunt the same monster multiple times. Playing co-op through the story didn't feel super intuitive. Like if the mission contained contained a cutscene, you'd have to get that cutscene, then either SOS or back out and re-queue or something. I don't remember what or why, but there was a lengthy section of the game where you had to go to each zone and collect a bunch of tracks for a dragon you were trying to find. It wasn't like you were actively hunting it right then and there. It felt a little overblown and it wasn't engaging. Also, the story itself just kind of felt like tacked on. Like, you might like it and that's awesome, but I found it really hard to pay attention or care. That's just a me thing though. I'm sure the story's fine. I'm glad I got into Monster Hunter. There aren't any other co-op focused action RPGs like this out there that allow for engaging skill expressive combat. There's just so much to like, from the realized environments, the lived inness of the world, the music that sends you to those places. And I don't know what these cats are making, but I want some. Go buy this game right now, or Rajang's gonna come over there and punch you in the balls.